This Rain Advanced one is Giant's 27.5 Enduro bike with 160 millimeters of travel front and rear. I had never ridden a Giant before, but I hear good things, and they're everywhere. And for a good reason too. They are incredibly affordable, offering amazing value in their entry-level bikes, starting at $1,300, all the way up to the bling-bling everything Carbon, approaching the $10,000 mark. But their mid-price bikes offer incredible value in themselves. Not only can you get an amazing full suspension bike from them around the $2,500 range, but if you're in the $5,000 range, you get a Carbon mainframe, top-of-the-line suspension and group set, but also Carbon wheels. Now that's a big deal because with other big boutique brands, you're spending $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 just for the Carbon bike with aluminum wheels. Now this Rain Advanced one comes in at $5,350, which is a lot, but it gives you that Carbon mainframe, full Shimano XT, which is bomb-proof, a Fox 36 Performance Elite fork, which has the better damper in it, a Fox Float X2 shock, Giant's contact dropper post, and dun-dun-dun-dun, Carbon wheels, wrapped in Schwalbe's Magic Mary and Hans Damf rubber. A decent combo from what I could tell. Now you could complain that the wheels are Giant branded, the TRX-1 composite wheel system, and they're in the mid-range width at 27 millimeters for the inner width. But these Carbon wheels are arguably one of the best upgrades to make to your ride, giving you a more lively ride, quicker accelerations, and better climbing. The Rain is definitely a bike for the downhill though. I've ridden some long travel enduro-specific bikes, and some were slugs going uphill, and some were incredibly surprising and showed themselves as amazing climbers. But the Rain, with its relatively slack 73-degree seat tube and super slack 65-degree head tube angle, felt kinda like a bus when the gradient pointed up. Sure, I actually really enjoyed the Maestro suspension design. It stiffens up when putting the power down, but it still remains active for traction. But the Rain was hard to steer at slow speeds, and hard to keep the weight over the front. And again, it just felt like a long boat, which also made technical and tight terrain hard to navigate. But point this thing down, and it can plow through anything. Some people use the word plush, and it should be plush. And it should go downhill really well, right? Well, it certainly did plow, but it almost deadens the trail and doesn't leave you much trail feedback to groove off of. Plus, it only came with a 125mm dropper post, which worked great, but for an enduro bike, I think that 150mm drop is really kind of the new minimum standard for enduro bikes. And if all I was doing was going to bike parks and downhill, I'm sure this bike would be sufficient. And with the 444mm reach on the medium, it was plenty roomy enough to feel incredibly stable and well balanced. But it felt like a slug boat going up, and then purpose-built for going downhill without much thought. And it took a lot of effort to get it off the ground, or to try to pop off every little bump in the trail, which I personally like to do, or try to. Now, please understand that this is just my perspective and opinion from a quick demo. And I understand that if the suspension isn't set up and PSIs aren't right and it's not dialed, then the ride can be substantially different, and it takes a while to break all that in. But I've become accustomed to setting up and playing with all of those settings, as my perspective comes from demoing 15 different bikes all within a short amount of time. And I think I knew what I was getting into before I got on the bike, but I was hoping to be pleasantly surprised. Instead, I got what is 100% expected from the Rain, an incredibly capable downhill bike with a single crown fork. Now, I'm going to try Giant's offering from the complete opposite end of the spectrum next, the Giant Anthem. We'll see how that goes. So stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.